Programa ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Equilibrium Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong food supplement na gawa sa mga piling gulay at prutas at dumaan sa isang masusing proseso para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, boost to break, miracle food, very care, at ang pinakabago, liver food. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmakalaki ng produktong gawa sa tayo. Ito ay mabibili sa Dasher, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Pinauganan, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Ginang Malu Reyes Murray. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasangga? Hala, bili na. MSB, Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Matid sa inyo ni Kuya Dong. Magandang umaga po mga kasangga, kakampi, kaibigan, kapamilya. Ito naman po ang inyong Kuya Dong. It's May 25, Thursday. May 25 na po tayo. Malapit na naman po magtapos ang ating buwan ng Mayo. At syempre po, welcome po sa ating Daily Dose of News, ang ating MSB, Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Naghahatid po ng mga nagbabagang balita at kaganapan sa loob at labas ng ating bansa. Sa loob naman po ng 30 minutes, best effort. Pero bago po natin simulan ang ating pagbabalita, samahan niyo po muna ako sa isang maikling panalangin. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal namin lumikha, maraming salamat po sa bagong araw na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa amin, sa mapayapang gabing lumipas, at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng iyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagkaloob mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ng kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at pagsunod sa inyong inurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaari namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, na aming Panginoon. Amen. Sa kanan ng Ama, sa kanan ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Atin na po simulan ang ating pagbabalita ngayong araw na to, May 25, 2023.
araw ng Huwebes. For our top news, House Ice Probe of Post Office Fire, DA defers implementation of 150 pesos per kilo of SRP for onions, and last of our top three news for today, Mawar slightly weakens but may re-intensify. Let's start off with our top news. House Ice Probe of Post Office Fire. Report by Romina Cabrera for the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. At least 42 members of the House of Representatives have filed a resolution seeking an in-depth inquiry into what caused the fire that razed the Manila Central Post Office early this week. In House Resolution 1019, the lawmakers yesterday made clear that they want the building preserved, restored, and protected as one of the country's heritage sites. They said the fire caused extensive damage, resulting in the loss of some of many of its architectural elements and invaluable cultural artifacts. It is thus crucial to investigate the causes of fire, assess the response mechanisms employed, and to evaluate the effectiveness of existing safeguards and preventive measures to prevent similar incidents in the future, the resolution read. Investigating the 30-hour fire that swept through Central Post Office is also top priority of the Bureau of Fire Protection, as ordered by Interior and Local Government Secretary Benher Abalos. More than the estimated cost of the damage at 300 million pesos. The historic landmark, built in 1926, is one symbol of Filipino heritage that has survived the ashes of World War II. That is why I am calling on the BFP to prioritize the investigation of the Manila Central Post Office fire and exhaust all means necessary to find out the cause of this incident, said Abalos. Initial investigations showed that the fire started at the basement of the building at 11:41 p.m. on Sunday, May 21, and raged through the five-story edifice until 6:33 a.m. on Tuesday, May 23, when nothing but its grand facade was left standing. Parcels and national ID cards were also destroyed in the burning building as 17 fire responders and civilians were reportedly injured. Senator Robin Hood Padilla has sought a Senate probe to revisit the protection of cultural properties against fire and other hazards. The Manila Central Post Office is a tangible representation of the country's culture and history, and its damage is a blow to the country's cultural heritage, he said. Senators Alan Peter Cayetano and Loren Legarda filed similar resolutions for an inquiry in aid of legislation on the cause of the fire and the need to restore building and protect other historic sites. During the plenary session yesterday, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri said he filed a measure to create a special Senate committee to look after the restoration and rehabilitation of the iconic landmark in Manila. In a tweet Monday, Senator Sani Angaro, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee, said Zubiri had instructed him to work with the Department of Budget and Management to find sources of funds for the building's rehabilitation. Rebuilt after the war, the heritage building beside the Pasig River is known for its Greco-Roman pillars and neoclassical style designed by Juan Arellano. Tomas Mapua, and Ralph Duan. Senator Cheese Escudero gave assurance that the building is covered by the State Insurer Government Service Insurance System, or GSIS. President Vic Veloso confirmed that the building is insured for 604 million. That should be the financial cornerstone of this reconstruction, Escudero said. For Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, government should give its full support to rebuild the structure. Additional reports from Delon Porcalia, Mark Jason Cayabyab, and Gio Ong. Moving on to the next headline news. Welcome to our watchers at TikTok. Thanks for joining me. This is our regular MSB or MSB Cafe at Balita sa Umaga. If you have Facebook, you can also watch the live streaming via Facebook of the same account, Dominic Maglala. And for our next headline news, DA defers implementation of the 150 peso per kilo suggested retail price for onions. Report by Bel Carriazo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. A ranking official of the Department of Agriculture announced yesterday the postponement of the implementation of 150 per kilo suggested retail price for red onions and 140 peso per kilo SRP for white onions after the DE's senior official decided to put on hold the signing of the memorandum order. In an interview, Agricultural Assistant Secretary and Spokesman Rex Estoperes added that Agriculture Senior Undersecretary Domingo Panganiban did not sign the draft order on the SRP for onions. Actually, it was announced that we will be adopting SRP, but it was not signed by Senior Undersecretary Panganiban. And according to him, when we discussed this matter, he decided to put on hold the signing, Estoperes said. The SRP was supposed to take effect on Monday, May 22, after the consensus reached during the meeting with various stakeholders on May 19, attended by DA officials, onion farmers, farmers groups, wholesalers, traders, and retailers. He is not convinced with the cost structure set for the SRP for now. We are coordinating also with the DTI or Department of Trade and Industry right now on what we can do, but we will continue monitoring and inspecting the cold storages of the onions, Estoperes added. Estoperes admitted that Pangaliban took into consideration the zero compliance with the previous SRP imposed on the bulbs. Last February, SRP did not work. We don't want to repeat this, plus the fact that there are some things that we have to address first, particularly the supply, as Tupera said. The DA implemented a 250 per kilo SRP for 22, but the price of onions skyrocketed to 720 pesos per kilo amid the shortage in the supply in February. In February, the agency also imposed a 125 SRP on imported onions and failed to get compliance from the traders and retailers. We fear that we are not prepared for that SRP. It's more difficult to implement. We should be prepared on all strategies before implementing the SRP, Estoperes added. Days after the announcement on the implementation of the 150 SRP for red onions, the retail prices of the bulb started to go down based on monitoring of the DA on Monday. Only Marikina Public Market sold as high as 200 pesos per kilo of onions. Prices of onions in Metro Manila markets, particularly at New Las Piñas City Public Market, Guadalupe Public Market in Makati, San Andres Market, Quinta Market, Pretil Market in Manila, Pamilihan Luzon ng Muntinlupa, Pasay City Market, Pasig City Mega Market, Commonwealth Market, Muñoz Market, Mega Q Market, all in Quezon City and Malabon Central Market, range between 150 and 190 pesos per kilo. Estoperas urged onion farmers turned traders to cooperate to prevent the increase in the retail price of the bulbs. Our appeal to our farmer traders during that time harvest, we protected you. Now that you are a trader, which is another role, you should cooperate and help, Estoperas added. According to Estoperas, the enforcement group of the DA will continue to monitor and inspect the cold storage facilities. Agriculture Assistant Secretary and spokesperson Christine Evangelista has vowed that cases of profiteering and price manipulation await traders and retailers who fail to comply with the SRP. Evangelista added that during the stakeholders meeting on May 19, cold storage owners vowed to set the wholesale price for red onions at 115 pesos per kilo and 100 pesos per kilo for white onions. According to Evangelista, the Bureau of Plant Industry and the DA Enforcement Group, led by Assistant Secretary for Inspectorate and Enforcement James Layo, will monitor the inflow and outflow of onions in cold storage facilities to prevent hoarding. Evangelista said that under Republic Act 7581 or the Price Act, vendors and traders can face charges for profiteering and price manipulation, as she gave assurance that the DA will work closely with the local price coordinating council to ensure compliance with the implementation of the Price Act. Vendor Julieta Presto, in an earlier interview with the Star, said that it is impossible for them to comply with the SRP, saying they bought the bulbs at wholesale prices but were higher than the SRP. Lipat ko lang itong acting monitor. Yes, okay. Presto noted that she sourced onions from Balintawak Market in Quezon City at wholesale price at 155 peso per kilo, higher than the 150 pesos per kilo SRP for red onions. For his part, Farmers Group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura President Rosendo So said there is no reason for retailers not to comply with the 150 peso per kilo SRP for red onions and 140 peso per kilo for white onions, as he encouraged consumers not to patronize retailers selling beyond the 150 peso per kilo SRP. Moving on to the next headline news, Mawar slightly weakens but may re-intensify. Mawar slightly weakens but may re-intensify. Report by Romina Cabrera for the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Tropical Cyclone Mawar has slightly weakened into a typhoon but is forecast to re-intensify into a super typhoon before it enters the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR this weekend. Mawar had been monitored 2,135 kilometers east of the Visayas as of 3 p.m. yesterday, according to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA. It was carrying maximum sustained winds of 175 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 215 kilometers per hour. Mawar may enter the eastern boundaries of the PAR by Friday evening on or Saturday morning, after which it will be given the local name Betty, according to weather forecasters. Mawar weakened to typhoon category yesterday, but Pag-asa said it may re-intensify due to warm atmospheric conditions as it traverses the Philippine Sea. Pag-asa noted that Mawar has around 300-kilometer radius and rain bands that consist directly that could directly affect northern Luzon by Sunday or Monday. Rain bands could affect the Grand Valley between Sunday and Tuesday, with possibility of hoisting of the tropical cyclone wind signal over areas in the province. Mawar could also enhance the monsoon rains over the western portions of Mimaropa, Mindoro provinces, Marinduque, Romblon, and Palawan. The Visayas and Mindanao from Friday to Saturday. The monsoon could also affect parts of southern Luzon and the Visayas starting Sunday. Still Pagasa said there could be changes in the impact of the southwest monsoon as this depends on Mawar's track and intensity. Pagasa added that almost similar cyclones were seen in the past years, most notably Typhoon Paeng last year and Typhoon Orduha in 2017 that originated from the same area as that of Mawar. Today, the southwesterly wind flow will bring scattered wind showers over several parts of the country. Cloudy skies are forecast over Occidental Mindoro, Palawan, Western Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Soc-Sargen, Soc Cotabato, Cotabato, Sultan Kudarat, Sarangani, and General Santos, Zamboanga Peninsula, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Metro Manila and the rest of the country may experience isolated rain showers due to the southwesterly wind flow and localized thunderstorms. Alerted. As Mawar approaches the country, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council yesterday alerted coastal towns to brace themselves in the impact of the typhoon. In a disaster media bulletin, NDRRMC and Office of Civil Defense spokesman Assistant Secretary Rafi Alejandro IV said that in view of Mawar, the OC regional offices will continuously monitor the situation and coordinate with concerned member agencies. We are alerting coastal communities as far as Bicol because this is a super typhoon. This will create large waves. Our fisher folk will be affected. We will need to temporarily ban fishing trips, Alejandro said. We initially alerted LGUs located in the eastern seaboard of the country as Mawar will be coming from the eastern side of the country. However, we are now also alerting LGUs on the western seaboard as the tropical cyclone will intensify and pull the southwest monsoon that will cause strong winds and rains, he added. Alejandro disclosed that the NDRRMC and OCD would conduct pre-disaster risk assessment with science agencies to determine LGUs that are susceptible to the effects of the tropical cyclone and subsequently their prescribed alert levels and corresponding response protocols. The OCD has also placed its rescue and response teams on alert and on standby as Mawar approaches the country. Stockpiling and prepositioning of relief goods and other items are also being carried out with possible preemptive evacuation efforts in some towns in Cagayan and in coastal towns in Batanes. Alejandros and LGUs in northern Luzon are expected to conduct preemptive evacuation, especially for those in coastal towns and areas prone to floods and landslides. Mawar is fast approaching Batanes and parts of Cagayan, and the preemptive evacuation may likely be implemented over the weekend, according to NDRRMC OCD. Farmers, fisherfolk. Meanwhile, an official of the Department of Agriculture yesterday urged farmers, fisherfolk to prepare ahead of the expected entry of Mawar into the PAR. DA Deputy Spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Rex Perez said the agency is closely coordinating with Pagasa on latest developments. Perez appealed to farmers and fisherfolk to always tune in to save us from the effects of the calamities. The DA also encouraged farmers to implement early harvest to spare their crops from the devastation of the typhoon. Airports prepare. In a related development, airports under the management of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, are actively implementing precautionary measures in anticipation of Mawar's strength. CAAP spokesperson Eric Apolonio yesterday said airports located in areas along the possible path of Mawar, such as Ilocos and Cagayan Valley, have conducted pre-typhoon coordination meetings, assessments, and preparations to gear up for possible weather disturbance. Apolonio added that the malasakit health kits, including food packs, are also in place to be distributed to affected travelers if typhoon lands in those regions. In anticipating Mawar's onslaught, the Media Affairs Division of the Manila International Airport Authority said that as of 2 p.m. yesterday, United Airlines had canceled its Guam-Manila-Guam flights UA 183 184 due to unfavorable weather condition caused by Mawar. Additional reports from Jose Rodel Capano, Michael Punumbayan Bayan, and Rudy Santos. That concludes our top three news roundup for our headlines. Moving on to our global updates. Also on Mawar, Typhoon Mawar pounds Guam with destructive winds. Reports from Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Los Angeles, United States. Typhoon Mawar roared over the U.S. territory of Guam on Wednesday, bringing destructive winds to the Pacific military outpost. The eye of the storm passed just north of the island, its governor said, after forecasters had warned that winds up to 140 miles per hour or 255 kilometers per hour could cause major damage. What we are feeling right now is the eye going over the Rota Channel, Governor Lu Leon Guerrero said in a Facebook video, referring to the body of water between the islands of Guam and Rota. Local authorities earlier issued evacuation orders and opened temporary shelters, while U.S. President Joe Biden declared a state of emergency for the island of 170,000 people, paving the way for federal aid. I am in a concrete reinforced house and my windows are shuttered. I did go outside briefly and winds start getting very gusty with intermittent rains. Beck Merrill, a 46-year-old middle school teacher, told AFP from a southern area of the island. After predicting a direct hit on Guam, forecasters later said the typhoon had moved just north of the island. It looks like we are getting a near hit with the eye passing through the Rota Channel. The southern wall of the eye will pass over much of Guam. The worst winds will be in the northern third of Guam, said the U.S. National Weather Service told AFP. Warnings of extreme winds and flash floods have been issued for the island with wind speeds of 74 miles per hour already recorded, forecasters said. I'm worried for the safety of our people. This is the first storm of this magnitude for 20 years, Guerrero said. Coastal evacuation. Evacuations were ordered for low-lying coastal areas, especially in the flood-prone southern villages. The NWS warned of the triple threats of torrential rain, catastrophic winds, and life-threatening storm surge. Winds near the eye could bring major damage to buildings and homes made of light materials, such as non-concrete roofs and walls not made of reinforced concrete. A calamitous storm surge threatened to wreak havoc on shorelines, and large boats could be torn from moorings. Surge may reach between 20 and 25 feet above normal high tide for the most vulnerable storm surge prone areas near the eye wall, the NWS said. Forecasts predicted Guam will receive rainfall of 10 to 15 inches, with some areas seeing 20 inches or more, the NWS said. This could trigger landslides in the central and southern parts of the island, the Weather Service warned. Frightening. Many of us right now are feeling the full strength of Typhoon Mawar, and although it is a frightening experience that hasn't been felt for over 2 decades, we want you to know that we are here for you, Guerrero said in a Facebook post. Even as the typhoon makes its initial landfall, we have multiple agencies coordinating response efforts and relaying helpful information to those in need. People were told to stay inside and away from windows and not venture outside during temporary lulls, as flying debris can cause serious injury. Guam's Office of Civil Defense urged motorists to stay off the roads on Wednesday, saying winds are expected to intensify to typhoon force winds by midday. About 21,700 U.S. military personnel and their families are based at or near several facilities on Guam, which routinely host nuclear attack submarines and long-range bombers. The territory is also home to crucial electronic listening posts. The U.S. bases have some of the Pacific region's most significant ammunition and fuel storage facilities. About 60 flights scheduled to depart or arrive in Guam between Tuesday and Thursday were canceled, AB-1 Pac International Airport said. Conditions in Guam are expected to improve on Thursday, but the storm is expected to intensify over the next few days, possibly becoming a super typhoon over the Philippine Sea, the NWS said. So mga kababayan po natin sa Ilocos and Cagayan Valley, medyo maghanda-handa na po tayo. Hindi po natin alam kung itong si Betty, pagpasok po ng Mawar sa ating Philippine Area of Responsibility, mapapalit na po yung pangalan niya. Siya na po mapapangalan Betty. So ano po tayo, ingat-ingat po tayo. Continuing with the global updates, Russia and China, also with the Philippine Star. Chinese President Xi Jinping offers Beijing support on Moscow's core interests at a meeting with Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. China and Russia have in recent years ramped up economic and diplomatic cooperation, growing even closer since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, despite Beijing's insistence that it is neutral in that conflict. Mishustin's trip this week is the highest level visit by a Russian official to China since last year's invasion of Ukraine. Report from AFP to the Philippine Star. Our next global update on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Moscow will respond to attacks on Russian soil extremely harshly, Russia's defense minister warned Wednesday, after Russian jets and artillery fought off an armed group that crossed from Ukraine. We will continue to respond promptly and extremely harshly to such actions by Ukrainian militants, Sergei Shoigu told military officials, according to comments published by the Defense Ministry. From AFP to the Philippine Star. And last of our global updates, it's sad news for the entertainment industry. Sad news for all Batang 80s, like myself. Queen of Rock and Roll, Queen of Rock and Roll, Tina Turner, dies at 83. Report by Mike Davison via Reuters to the Philippine Star. Tina Turner, the American-born singer who left a hand hard scrabble who left a hard scrabble farming community and abusive relationship to become one of the top recording artists of all time, died on Wednesday at the age of 83. She died peacefully after a long illness in her home in Kusnach near Zurich, Switzerland, her representative said. Turner began her career in 1950s during the early years of rock and roll and evolved into an MTV phenomenon. In the video of her chart-topping song What's Love Got to Do with It, in which she called love a second-hand emotion, Turner epitomized 1980s style as she strutted through the New York City streets with her spiky blonde hair, wearing a cropped jean jacket, miniskirt, and stiletto heels. With her taste for musical experimentation and bluntly worded ballads, Turner gelled perfectly with the 1980s pop landscape in which music fans valued electronically produced sounds and scorned hippie era idealism. Sometimes nicknamed the Queen of Rock and Roll, Turner won six of her eight Grammy Awards in the 1980s. The decade saw her land a dozen songs on the top 40, including Typical Male, The Best, Private Dancer, and Better Be Good to Me. Her 1988 show in Rio de Janeiro drew 180,000 people, mas marami pa kaysa sa population ng Guam, which remains one of the largest concert audiences for any single performer. By then, Turner had been free from her marriage to guitarist Ike Turner for a decade. The superstar was forthcoming about the abuse she suffered from her former husband during their marital and musical partnership in the 1960s and 70s. She described bruised eyes, busted lips, a broken jaw, and other injuries that repeatedly sent her to the emergency room. Tina's story is not one of victimhood, but one of incredible triumph, since Janet Jackson wrote about Turner in a Rolling Stone issue that placed Turner at number 63 on the list of the top 100 artists of all time. She's transformed herself into an international sensation, an elegant powerhouse, Jackson said. In 1985, Turner gave a fictional turn to her reputation as a survivor. She played the ruthless leader of an outpost in a nuclear wasteland, acting opposite Mel Gibson in the third installment of the Mad Max franchise, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Most of Turner's hit songs were written by others, but she enlivened them with a voice that New York Times music critic John Paredes called one of the more peculiar instruments in pop. It's three-tiered with a nasal low register, a yowling, a cutting middle range, and a high register so startling clear it sounds like a falsetto. Paredes wrote in a 1987 concert review. One horse down. She was born Anna May Bullock on November 26, 1939, in the rural Tennessee community of Nutbush, which she described in her 1973 song Nutbush City Limits as a quiet little old community, a one horse town. Her father worked as an overseer on a farm, and her mother left the farm when when the singer was 11 years old, according to the singer's 2018 memoir, My Love Story. As a teenager, she moved to St. Louis to rejoin her mom. Ike Turner, whose 1951 song Rockets 88 has often been called the first rock and roll record, discovered her at age 17 when she grabbed the mic to sing at his club show in St. Louis in 1957. The band leader later recorded a hit song, A Fool in Love, with his protege and gave her stage name Tina Turner before the two married in Tijuana, Mexico. Tina employed her strong voice and strenuously rehearsed dance routines as lead vocalist in an ensemble called Ike and Tina Turner Review. She collaborated with members of rock royalty, including The Who and Phil Spector, and in the 1960s and 1970s and appeared on the cover of issue of Two Rolling Stone magazine in 1967. Ike and Tina Turner bounced between record labels, owing much of their commercial success to a relentless touring schedule. Their biggest hit was a cover of Creedence Clearwater Revival's Proud Mary. Turner left her husband one night in 1976 on a tour stop in Dallas after he pummeled her during a car ride and she struck back. According to her memoir, their divorce was finalized in 1978. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted Ike and Tina Turner in 1991, calling them one of the most formidable live acts in history. Ike Turner died in 2007. Europe bound. After leaving her husband, Turner spent years struggling to regain the limelight, releasing solo albums and singles that flopped and gigging of corporate conferences. In 1980, she met new manager Roger Davis, an Australian music executive who went on to manage her for 3 decades. That led to a solo number one. What's Love Got to Do with It? And then in 1984, her album Private Dancer landed her at the top of the charts. Private Dancer went on to become Turner's biggest album, the capstone of a career that saw her sell more than 200 million records in total. In 1985, Turner met German music executive Erwin Bach, who became her long-term partner, and in 1988 she moved to London, beginning a decades-long residency in Europe. She released two studio albums in 1980s that sold well, especially in Europe, according to the theme song for 1985 Bond movie GoldenEye, and staged a successful world tour in 2008 and 2009. After that, she retired from show business. She married back, relinquishing her U.S. citizenship and becoming a citizen of Switzerland. She battled a number of health problems after retiring, and in 2018, she faced a family tragedy when her oldest son, Craig, took his life at the age of 59 in Los Angeles. Her younger son, Ronnie, died in December 2022. Her name continues to draw audiences years after her retirement. Musical stage show Tina, the Tina Turner musical with Adrian Warren, initially acting and singing. The star's life story was a hit first in London's West End in 2018 and later on Broadway, and is still running. And in 2021, HBO released a documentary about her life, Tina. She is survived by Bach and two sons of Ike's that she adopted. Reporting by Alex Dobunzinski and Mike Davidson. Editing by Diane Kraft, Andrew Heavens, and Rosalba O'Brien. Moving on to our local news. Kung sino naman po nakakaalala doon kay Bicoy noong 2019, we have an update on his case. Bicoy found guilty of perjury. Report by Gio Ong to the Philippine Star. The Manila court found the man known as Bicoy, who accused three human rights lawyers of plotting to oust then President Rodrigo Duterte, guilty of perjury. In an order dated yesterday, Manila Metropolitan Trial Court Branch 17, Judge Carla Fontilla Abugan sentenced Peter Jomel Advincula to serve a minimum of 3 months and 1 day to a maximum of 1 year and 1 day in prison. The charge was filed in February 2020 by Jose Manuel Shell Diokno and Lorenzo Erin Cañada III, members of the 2019 opposition senatorial slate Otso Derecho, as well as former Supreme Court spokesman Theodore Te. They are all members of the Free Legal Assistance Group, or FLAG, a nationwide organization of human rights lawyers. According to photos of the 16-page decision that Cañada posted on his Twitter account, the court said that Vincula tagged them as members of the Project Sodoma, an alleged plot to oust Duterte through sedition, inciting to sedition, libel, cyber libel, estafa, harboring a criminal, and obstruction of justice. The three lawyers said that Advincula, who was behind the Ang Totoong Narcolis viral videos, knew fully well that said material statement was false, thereby making willfully deliberate assertion of falsehood. In the videos which went viral in 2019, Advincula alleged that Duterte's family members were involved in the illegal drug trade. Pontilla Abugan did not award moral damages the three lawyers demanded from Advincula for defaming them, saying there was no sufficient basis to award nominal damages. The prosecution's evidence primarily sought to establish the elements of the crime of perjury and not the legal rights of the private complainants that were violated as a result of the criminal act of the accused, she declared. Along with the photos of the decision, Tanyada wrote in the first of series of tweets, Bikoy guilty. According to earlier reports, Advincula alleged Tanyada, Diokno, and Te met in March and May 2019 to plan on overthrowing the Duterte government. The three disputed his claims, asserting Diokno and Tanyada were attending a forum at Ateneo de Manila University. Te admitted that he met Advincula, but it was to check if he was qualified as a client for flag. The Philippine National Police filed charges of conspiracy to commit sedition against dozens of public figures, including then Vice President Lenin Robredo, based on Advincula's testimony before the Department of Justice. At the end of the preliminary investigation, only 11 persons, including Advincula and former Senator Antonio Trillanes, before were charged. Robredo and other public figures were cleared. In November 2021, Advincula admitted to killing three candidates for local posts in Donsol, Sorsogon. The three victims were found dead in his used clothing store in Daraga, Albay. He faces charges of multiple murder. Oh, some good news for our Quezon City residents. This is the last of our regional updates. Belmonte signs free bus rides ordinance from the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte has signed an ordinance authored by three-term congressman and incumbent councilor Alfred Vargas, institutionalizing the city's free bus ride program. I am grateful to Mayor Joy and my colleagues in the City Council for approving Ordinance SP 3184 S 2023. With this ordinance, we can now guarantee the sustainability of the Q City Bus Program, which our mayor pioneered and implemented to benefit thousands of Quezon City passengers every day, Vargas said in a statement. Under the ordinance, the City Traffic and Transportation Management Department will implement the program, which will be maintained by an annual appropriation from the City Council. Records show the Q City Bus Program has so far logged 12 million passenger rides on its 8 routes. Belmonte initiated the program during the height of the pandemic, and its institutionalization is a joint priority of the city's executive and legislative departments. Vargas cited the program's socioeconomic impact, adding that residents can utilize their savings from free bus rides for food, electricity, and other basic necessities. He also said he had used the bus service from Novaliches to City Hall and was impressed by its efficiency and convenience. Everyone deserves a comfortable travel to work or school, one that values their time and well-being. This is what we envision with our ordinance, Vargas said. That caps off our regional headlines. Moving on to our last segment, sports. Updates on the NBA. Celtics avert sweep from Agency France Press to the Philippine Star. Lakers hoping LeBron would stay. Miami. The Boston Celtics kept their Eastern Conference Finals hopes alive with a 116-99 victory over the Miami Heat on Tuesday to reduce the series deficit to 3-1. Jason Tatum inspired the Celtics with 33 points, 11 rebounds, and assists, while five other players reached double figures in what was a determined team display from Joe Mazzulla's side. After the Heat's 128-102 win on Sunday, the Celtics were facing the possibility of a humiliating 4-0 exit, but they will now be looking to put further pressure on Miami on Thursday's clash back in Boston. While no team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 down to win a best of seven playoff series, Boston will have grown belief that they can now deliver a comeback and wish the finals were the Denver Nuggets away. We weren't thinking about winning four in a row tonight. We were just trying to save our season and win tonight, and we did that, said Tatum. The Heat are looking to reach the NBA Finals for the seventh time as they search for their first NBA championship since 2013. Started strongly and took a 22-15 lead with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Lakers team chief Rob Pelinka said he hoped LeBron James would continue his NBA career, but said NBA superstar had earned the right to retire. James, 38, stunned the basketball world late Monday after telling ESPN he was considering calling time on his glittering 20-season career in the NBA. His comments came after a 40-point display in the Lakers' 113-111 defeat to the Denver Nuggets, who advanced to the NBA Finals after completing a 4-0 sweep of the 17-time champions. And that completes our news updates for today, May 25, 2023, Thursday. So before we end our MSB Kape at Balita sa umaga, bati muna tayo sa mga nanood, sa mga nakinig. Thank you very much to Aimee Afable Pascua for joining. Si Adlin Sol also was watching. Si schoolmate Rurik Felix Bellanos is also watching. Si Rina Loren Garcia. Si Rina is watching. Thank you, Rina, for watching. Si Auntie Marilu Ugarino from the US is also watching. Good morning, Auntie. Kumusta po kayo? And for those who watch me in our TikTok live, so medyo marami-rami po. For those who joined me in TikTok, thank you very much, and hope to see you again tomorrow. I'm not sure if I will be doing the NSB. Ito po yung aking setup. Not, I'm just showing it to my TikTok audience. This is what I look like when I do the news reporting. Yun po. That is the view from my seat. So I'm using a digital platform, Restream, to do my live streaming, and it's connected with my Facebook account and my YouTube account, YouTube channel. So for those of you with the Facebook account, please follow me in Facebook as Dominic Maglalang, same name as with my TikTok. And also for my YouTube channel, it's Kuya Dong 852. That's my YouTube channel. And what we're doing here is sponsored by Equilibrium Probiotics. So thank you very much. Again, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for the time. And I'll be seeing you again tomorrow.